3 to 5 million businesses are started in the US alone every year, and 23% of those businesses fail before they finish their first year, and 34% of those businesses also fail to reach product market fit. But what is so surprising is the percentage that actually becomes unicorn on those businesses. Only 1% of those businesses actually become a unicorn. Way back before the age of AI, companies were taking about 7 to 8 years in order to hit this badge of a unicorn. But currently, with the rise of AI and companies growing into leaner teams and optimizing for more growth and productivity, companies are taking about 2 to 3 years to become a unicorn. And so in this current age of AI, where companies are optimizing for more growth and productivity and working with leaner teams, what is actually making the startup success rate decrease as fast as possible? Well, in this video, we're going to discuss 5 reasons why startups are actually failing even before they even hit their first year, and what you have to do about it. Well, if you're new here, my name is Arosef. I'm a startup founder at a startup called Glomspace, and basically what we do is we connect Shopify sellers with travelers who are already moving in the directions where package is actually moving, so shipments can be moved as fast as possible and at cheaper, affordable prices. If you want to work with us, go on glomspace.com and let's get back into the business. So what are the reasons why startups actually fail before they even finish their first year? Reason number 1 is actually funding. 14% of these startups fail because they lacked funds. Maybe they failed to secure venture capital, maybe they lacked right investors to invest in their market, or maybe even the startup founders also didn't have enough money to actually bootstrap the company until it is profitable. So, but usually when actually first-time founders are actually thinking about success rate, they always think that venture capital or getting funds is actually the end goal. But having money in your bank account itself is actually not enough for you to determine that your company or your startup is actually going to succeed. So if funding contributes only 14% of the failure rate of these startups, what is the number 1 reason why actually startups actually fail before they even finish their first year? Reason number 2 why these startups actually fail before they finish their first year is lack of a clear business model. And basically this implies that the startup founders of these companies lacked a clear way of how to charge their users. Maybe the pricing was too low, or maybe they even totally lacked a business model. Maybe they didn't know whether to go with a subscription based or a commission based or whatever business model. But the other surprising thing is that even when this business model reason is actually directly connected to how much the startup actually makes, this only contributes 24% of the failure rate of these startups. So what is the main reason why actually startups fail before they actually finish their first year? Reason number 3 is idea. When first-time startup founders get ideas, they usually think that the idea is the main and only thing that requires you to actually start up a successful company. And they usually hear stories of how Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of uni because he had this random Facebook startup idea, and how Steve Jobs got this Apple idea, and but the truth is that an idea itself is not worth anything, because we have always had problems and problems have always had solutions. So you can actually wake up almost every day having a new idea and a new idea. So just having an idea itself does not contribute to your success rate as a startup founder, or does not contribute the success rate of your startup. And that's why we're actually saying that 28% of these companies fail because the idea wasn't worth it. Actually, according to statistics, 34% of startups actually fail before they find product market fit. So that implies that even when startup founders wake up with good ideas and they think executing on them is the best thing to ever do, they still come to struggle to find product market fit. And surviving that 3 to 5 years of finding product market fit can actually be deadly, to the extent that you may actually not survive it. So number 4 reason why startups actually fail before their first year is team and adaptability. Now, this actually brings me to another point called founder market fit. And basically what this implies is that are the founders that are working on a particular problem, are they the right people to actually be working on this problem? And if so, the team they actually gather in the first year, is it the right team that is well motivated to actually push on through the hurdles of every startup to actually work on this problem until the startup survives the first year. And so, since founder market fit contributes 32% of the failure rate of these startups before they finish their first year, what is the main reason why actually startups fail in their first year? Now, still talking about team and adaptability, having a huge team doesn't necessarily dictate that your startup is actually going to survive the cold start. And we've actually seen companies that have actually survived with actually a very small headcount. WhatsApp was actually acquired by Facebook when it actually had like 55 employees, and Instagram was acquired by Facebook when it had 13 employees. And so basically, having a big headcount on your team doesn't necessarily dictate your success rate as a startup. It is all about the quality of the people that are on your team and how motivated are they as far as your idea or your startup is actually concerned. So going to reason number 5, the final reason why actually most startups fail to actually even finish the first year is timing. Now, I don't know how I should even stress about timing, because we have actually seen many companies actually fail because they actually started executing when the timing was actually not right. Talking about this, there was a company called Z.com. It was an online entertainment company. It had a great business model, and it even had a lot of funding from venture capital. It even pulled the best talents from Hollywood and were deployed into the company. But the timing of this company was actually not right, because it was started in the period when broadband penetration was actually too low. And basically, it was actually hard to watch online video content. And finally, in 2003, it later on went out of businesses due to reasons of timing, because the time wasn't yet right and the market wasn't ready for the idea. Then 2 years later, the codec problem was solved by Adobe Flash. And it is in this time that we see YouTube actually sprouting, and it even did have a very nice business model. It even started as a dating site, but then we see people adopting the idea of watching content online. And finally, YouTube actually made it through. And so timing is a very big reason that actually contributes to the probability whether your startup is actually going to succeed or it is actually going to fail. By the way, if you've enjoyed this video, I actually made a long video about timing and why timing can actually affect the success of your startup. So if you want to actually check out that video, please check out this video here, and I'll be happy to meet you there. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. See you next week. Peace.